Good morning, Dan and Amy. And Amy, this just coming over the transom, the Hill reporting. Trump now saying he's effectively willing to take on members of the Freedom Caucus in primaries in the 2018 election cycle, his first sort of formal electoral threat in the direction of some of the Freedom Caucus members of the House who failed to this point to sign on to Obamacare replacement, even though, as we talked to Tim Carney at the top of the 7 o'clock hour from the Washington Examiner, there is a movement afoot to get a vote to make another try at getting an Obamacare replacement in April or May. Mm-hmm. So this is very interesting.
Wasn't there talk about that even before they took the vote? He met with certain members, and I know the mainstream media was saying that he's going to pay for the campaigns of people running against Freedom Caucus members.
Well, in those meetings, he was actually negotiating and providing some concession to Mark Meadows, the head of the House Freedom Caucus, and others. But since that time, and even since he said he would walk away and move on, he's shot a couple of tweets in their direction now, saying that he's effectively open to the possibility of backing primary challenges, which is that's a new aggressive step. And so the question is that judicious to open up a two-front war with a conservative sub-caucus of the House Republican caucus while you're also fighting Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats in Congress, and you have your public opinion flagging anywhere from 35 to 45, depending on which pollster you prefer? Or is this more of Trump's mastery of persuasion, his artistry of the deal? Well, for an answer to that question, we're pleased to be joined again by the Trump Whisperer. He is Dilbert cartoon creator Scott Adams. Scott, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And again, for those of you who haven't heard Scott on our show previously or followed his blog and some of his observations over the last 18 months, he has been ahead of the learning curve on Trump from the start. He has really unique takes on Trump's style of communication and what's really happening and why he was so effective in both the primary and the presidential general elections, and why he won, as Scott Adams predicted he would. So those Scott's bona fides when it comes to analyzing Trump. So fast forward now to the first 75 days or so, Scott, and is Trump's mastery and artistry that you identified in the context of last election cycle, is it persisting in the context of governing as President of the United States?
Well, it's probably too early to tell. The hard thing about analyzing any kind of a president is that you have to compare it to some imagined other president who got elected and is serving in 2017.
Right.
There's no base case. I mean, there's a reason that science always requires a base case to compare the experiment to. So right now, all we have is our imagination of how someone else would have done in the same trying situation. So it's nearly impossible. But I would say that as a general statement, the things that are on his pro side, the things that are going well, the economy, foreign affairs look pretty stable, he's got a pretty good judge picked out, that sort of stuff, that's all real, meaning that these are real people, the stock market is really up, consumer confidence is really up. But on the negative side, it tends to be a lot of we think something bad might happen because of this. The way he talks scares us. We think other countries won't take us seriously. We're worried that his ignoring of facts will cause a problem. We think that climate change will kill us all. So there's a whole bunch of we're worried about stuff on the negative side, but actual real things on the positive side. So I would say that's good. But again, you can't really compare him to anything because there was no other president at the same time to say, how did the other one do?
But don't you think the weight of the office of the presidency would have changed his behavior, for instance, when it comes to tweeting and having, say, knee-jerk reactions to things?
Well, I think that you can't compare anything to Trump because everybody has already discounted his behavior. In other words, he's such a known quantity that when he does something that's a little provocative, people say, "Oh, there's Donald Trump doing something provocative." If somehow a normal president, let's say, somebody like a Bill Clinton or a President Obama had done something completely out of character and untrue and crazy looking, that would be a problem. That's when everybody starts thinking whether they need to, fire up the nukes and get ready for something bad. But when Trump does it, people just say, well, put it in context. That's what he does. It doesn't mean as much as, you might think it means.
Right.
So, keep in mind that Trump has also had the most successful first 100 days of any president on this one dimension, which is he got the biggest promotion anybody's gotten in the first 100 days. Because when he started, he was considered Hitler.
Right.
And he's already been promoted to, well, he's not exactly Hitler because he couldn't get all this stuff done, but he seems a little incompetent.
Yes.
Now, if you could give me a promotion that big, I would definitely take it.
Yeah, but it's a good point, and that's exactly what happened. He went from a dictator to incompetent. You're either evil or you're a buffoon, and so this is the left's kind of binary choice for conservatives to self-identify in one of the two categories.
That's right, and the incompetent part is also really more like an incomplete.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of stuff he's working on. We don't know how it's going to work out. And I think my prediction has been, I predicted this change from Hitler to incompetent. I've been writing about that for a few months, and it's right on schedule. But I think by the end of the year, he's likely to have a Supreme Court nominee. He's likely to make some progress on health care and other things. ISIS may be on its last legs. I think people are going to say, well, he is effective, but we don't like what he's doing. So I think that's your December target.
Yeah, it's funny because this is what I said at an event last week, is he's kind of the negative composite of Obama in this sense, that Obama always retained a certain personal popularity. People found him likable, even though they strongly disagreed with much of his signature policy agenda and ultimate policy accomplishments.
Well, there's something really fascinating going on right now, which is that Trump's personal approval rating is at a historic low, just crazy low. At the same time, that if you ask people about their view of their own personal future, they'll say, "Well, it's looking good for me, but I'm kind of worried about other people."
Well, this is kind of where I'm getting to, is the idea that now Trump is the reverse of that. His policy choices are popular, and their impacts, I think, will be popular. This is why it's so important that he succeed, because he needs to rely on the popularity of his actual policy making as much of a personality as he is, rather than his personal popularity.
Yeah, that's very true. Everything will be judged on performance, and it's a little too early for that.
So, Scott Adams, was President Trump's first attempt at getting a health care bill a failure?
It depends if you look at it as a goal or what I call a system. A goal is, I've got one thing I want to accomplish. Did I do it or not? Under that framework, he did not. But under a systems framework, where even your failures at least put you ahead in terms of your ability to get it done in the future, you gain something by your failure, that's a good system. And what he's done is he's probably done the only thing that could get you to an ultimate solution, which is causing the majority party to go first, fail hard, fail embarrassingly, and then soften them up. Because there was nothing that was going to come out of the far right that was going to get approved and would make a happy law. Likewise, there was nothing that was going to come out of the far left. So now he's scared the left to death by the first plan, and he's softened up the right because it didn't work. And he's already talking about, well, maybe I should talk to some Democrats. Now, that was one of the headlines I saw this morning.
Yeah.
So he's created the perfect negotiating situation by doing what he says in his books and out loud, says it all the time. He says, I do this. I walk away from the table when I don't have the right deal. Now, walking away is more metaphorical in this case. He just created a situation where he couldn't go forward. But it's the same effect. He's making everybody wait. Well, the longer they wait and the more Obamacare starts to crumble, his ability to get a deal improves. So he's gone from a place of impossibility, two sides that would never agree, to a place where both sides are saying, hey, wait a minute, you're talking to the other side now? And the Democrats are saying, well, wait a minute, do we have an opening here? Can we get a little more than we thought we would at first when we thought it was just going to be a Republican bill? So while the news is reporting this as a failure, it is on a goal framework. He tried to do something that didn't work the first time. But from a systems perspective, he's way ahead.
So essentially what you're saying, and I'm not trying to get you to get into the mind of Trump, although feel free if you want to do a little armchair psychoanalysis, but he's willing to do all of these, even major policy initiatives, through this kind of public heuristic exercise, trial and error, to continue to fail up to get to ultimately the best deal that's available.
I think he will do whatever makes sense for the specific situation. And part of what makes sense for a president especially is if you can't get something through Congress, you got to bring the American people in. And I think you're going to see more on that. I think you're going to see Trump directly engaging the public and saying, I need your help to get this done. It's not going to get done on its own.
So when you hear some people saying, now you're going to see Trump make the left turn, something that conservatives have been worried about. Now he's going to make the left turn, and that's the whole overture to Democrats. What you're saying is it's not a left-right dichotomy with Trump. It's a system mindset, and he's trying to figure out how to get to that goal.
Yeah, everything is what they call in the startup world A/B testing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff he puts out, he gets a reaction, he retools it, he tries again. You're seeing the same thing with immigration. He took sort of a big first offer, and he's been carving it back as he needs to until he gets something through. But by the time something passes on immigration, for example, people are going to say, wow, that could have been a lot worse. So he's creating this situation where people can accept things that they would not have accepted before.
Well, how do you think he handled the loss? I mean, with the health care bill, they didn't even take it to the floor because they know it'd be a failure. And he immediately turned around and blamed the Democrats for it, which at that time he hadn't even reached out to them. How do you think that went?
I think that it's good strategy to blame everybody.
Okay.
So blame the right, blame the left.
I agree with that.
And shame them toward the middle. So as long as he's not getting his way, and he's got the biggest voice in the world, blaming other people for not giving him what he wants is good strategy, even if you don't like the policies.
I honestly, I love having you on the show, and I can't figure out after we talk if I'm more persuaded by Trump after talking to you, or just more persuaded by you. But Scott Adams, a Dilbert cartoonist, creator, the internationally renowned Dilbert cartoon strip, and also a trained hypnotist.
Yeah.
Yes, and the Trump whisperer. Scott, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate your insights as always.
Thank you so much.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.